Welcome to today's web conference, U.S. Azure Partner Community Call for September. I'd like to turn it over to your first presenter, Nick Johnson, National PTS for Microsoft. Nick, you now have the floor.
Well, thank you, Kim, and good morning or good afternoon to all of you. Appreciate you joining us again for this monthly journey we've been walking together. In fact, as a team, we were just reflecting that we've been doing these calls for a year now. So if you've been joining us for that entire year, thank you. You're one of the originals. If you're new to us, thanks for catching on with us. This is a really good opportunity every month to spend some time with the team. So we've got a great call for you lined up today. One of the things that we're going to do is look at some of the things that have been happening in the Azure world lately. Just going to take a quick tour of those. Then we've got a guest speaker to talk about the next two topics. One is the various investments that are available in FY16 here at Microsoft for Azure. So we're very excited to have Stephanie join us for that. And then we've got Azure Active Directory is a topic we're going to cover, and we've got a really great guest speaker lined up for that. So stay tuned for just a few minutes to get to that. And then as we close, I'm going to give you a preview of what we're going to talk about next month. If you're new to the community, just a reminder that we do have several ways for you to plug in. One is with this monthly call, and you can see that you're here, so you found us here. But we also have newsletters available. We've got a Yammer group, and we've got over 1,500 people signed up for that Yammer group. So feel free to join us. There's some rich dialogue that happens out there every single day. We also have a blog that we do every month, so if you're interested in joining us and seeing what's going on the blog, that'd be great. Also, as a note, the slide presentation for this session is available. It's down in the bottom of your screen, sort of in the lower left. You'll see a downloads button, and you can actually get the PowerPoint for this. If you happen to miss it, you want to go back and follow up on it, both a recording of the call and the slide deck will be available on Yammer later this week, so you can join that Yammer group. So what's been going on in Azure lately? Just a real quick survey of some things that you maybe haven't heard of yet, or you haven't had time to look at. One is that the Azure Backup feature is now enabled to actually protect Azure virtual machines. It's a feature a lot of you have been asking for, a lot of customers have been asking for. So now you can actually go in and schedule regular backups of your virtual machines that are running in Azure to be backed up to a different location in Azure for safekeeping. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, go do so. It's a really great little feature. It's a great add-on if you're trying to drive sort of Azure business and consumption with your customers. That's a feature that'll really help do that. If you're in the troubleshooting space, there is some boot diagnostics version 2 that are now available for Azure virtual machines. That's a really good troubleshooting tool for your technical folks. I'd pass that tip along to them. If you missed it, last week we announced the GS series of virtual machines. If you remember earlier this year, we announced the G series. Well, the GS is even bigger. These are some of the biggest virtual machines available in the cloud space today. These particular ones can do up to 64 terabytes of attached storage to any one virtual machine, and we're clocking them right around 80,000 IOPS of throughput with that attached premium storage right now. So that's a really, really powerful virtual machine available for big workloads. Strongly encourage you to spend some time there if you've got customers who need that heavy horsepower and they want to do it in the cloud. And lastly, this is an announcement for something coming up in just a week and a half. It's called Azure Con. It's a free virtual event put on by us here at Microsoft. It's going to be a fantastic opportunity for you to join us virtually and to hear from key leaders within the Azure product group, all the way up to our leader, Scott Guthrie, as well as go deep dives. There's going to be some deep dive sessions on various features and parts of Azure where you're going to be able to interact with the Azure product groups and some of those folks who are building those features that we know and love. So I strongly encourage you to spend some time in and sign up for Azure Con for that one-day event. If you can't make it that day, don't worry. We're going to record all of it, and it'll be available on the MSDN Channel 9 website. So if you can't make it to that day, we're still going to make sure you have an opportunity to consume that. And with that, I want to welcome in Stephanie Martin. Stephanie is our expert on all the investments available for Azure. So I'm just going to turn the floor over to you, and Stephanie, it's all yours.
Thanks, Nick. I'm going to take over as presenter so I can move the slides forward. There we go. Hi everyone, thank you for having me on your call today. I'm just going to take a few minutes and walk through the Azure focused programs that are currently live in Pi so you can take advantage of these local investment funds. First, what I want to do is cover the marketing programs that have Azure as a qualified workload. So to talk about the first one, business to schools, this really focuses on our education customers. So while you'll see here qualified partners as a specific list, if you're unsure if you qualify for this program, reach out to your PSE and they'll let you know if you do. But this is really great if you have education customers that you want to drive a specific marketing event for. This would definitely be the program available for you. The second program is our Cloud Platform Practice Development Program. This is open to our Azure Hero Maker partners as well as our NSP partners. This is the ability to not only drive Azure, but EMS and OMS as well on various workloads. The payouts will vary based on the activity you are driving. But there's plenty of activities that qualify for this program. So this would definitely be, I think, a big focus for most of the partners on the call today for driving, especially Azure marketing events. The next program is our Cloud and Platform Partner-Led Immersions. This is for the Immersion certified partners. If you're not sure or you want to become Immersion certified, you can see the email address at the bottom of the description column that you can reach out and follow the process to become Immersion certified. Again, this is it's $500 per in-person event, focusing on Azure as well as a variety of other workloads. So definitely lots of funds available on the marketing side to drive Azure activities. So plenty of dollars out there available to you as partners. To switch over to our pilot and deployment programs, I want to talk about our Microsoft Azure Assessments program. For those who are followed the Partner Incentives and Investments Yammer group, you'll see the posting earlier this week that we most recently expanded this program out to include more partners. Originally, it was just open to the Azure Hero Maker and NSP partners. We have recently opened it up to all gold and silver cloud platform competency partners. So it's really great to open it up to that competency as well for those partners that do have that competency and the partners who are working towards that competency. What this does, what's going to happen is that you will automatically be approved for $10,000, which equates to 5 assessments. So what that means is you will not have to submit unique requests for the first of 5 assessments that you'll be doing with your customers. You'll have essentially a punch card. So once you have completed those 5 assessments with your 5 different customers, you can submit the proof of execution, and once that proof of execution has been approved, you will then be able to request funds for the next set of 5 assessments and $10,000. So essentially we're doing this program a little bit differently to where you have a pre-approved amount for 5 assessments, and that way you don't have to wait 1 to 2 weeks for a PO to be opened. You have essentially that punch card to be able to do that assessment in real time with your customer as needed. A quick note on these ones, the assessments do need to be completed by December 31st, so definitely get those requests in there and start driving those assessments for Azure. And the last program to talk about is a SQL Modernization Assessment program. This funding varies based on the revenue opportunity that you've listed in the Opportunity ID in PSX. So you can see there's a range between $500 and $2,000 based on the forecasted revenue. So that will vary. And a workload is also Azure here. It does just say SQL Server 2014, but Microsoft Azure is also workload. Must just be a typo on the deck. But yeah, so those are all of the Azure focused programs in Pi. What I do want to just wrap up on is our budget availability slide. For those who are a member of the Yammer group, you will see this updated every Monday on the Yammer site for you. And what's really great is that it shows the remaining percentage of budget available for each of the programs. As you can see, for the Azure assessments that we just talked about, 85% budget remaining, so plenty of budget there to go take advantage of those programs to start driving assessments and marketing activities focusing on Azure. So Nick, that was it for my slides. Are there any questions that came up in the window?
The major question was, what is the proof of execution for the assessments?
Sure. So for the proof of execution, you can find those details in each of the individual program decks. I only showed you the first slide on the program deck. So in slide 3 of all program decks lists what the proof of execution is. So if you go out to the Yammer group and under the file section, you can find the Microsoft Azure Assessments program deck. Additionally, on the Pi site, you can also go to the resources section where the program deck is going to be posted there. So every single program in Pi in each program deck lists what the proof of execution requirements are.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you, Nick.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. And with that, I am going to introduce everybody to Keith Brinsenhoff. And we're so excited to have Keith with us today. Keith comes from the group that brings the world Azure Active Directory. He's a PM in that group. And if you've been paying attention, yesterday they made a couple of really significant announcements around Azure Active Directory and some of the business-to-business functionality as well as business-to-customer functionality. So you're getting this less than 24 hours after the world got this yesterday. In fact, some of the internal Microsoft people weren't even getting this until tonight. So we're really excited to bring this to the partners. And with that, let me turn it over to Keith. It's all yours.
Thanks so much, Nick. I appreciate this chance a lot. Hey, folks, really happy to be here. My name's Keith Brinsenhoff. I'm a group program manager responsible for Azure Active Directory Premium in the engineering team, right? So one of the really happy reasons that I was interested in Nick's invitation to talk here was the core value that we in engineering see from our partners. You know, you are directly responsible for the majority of deployment and basically completing the opportunity for our customers. So in engineering, it's like super important for us to know what's happening. Is it working? Do the things that we build address the customer's requirements and address your requirements as a partner to make sure that the customer can get deployed and be successfully using the services. So one thing I wanted to remember to note here was in the engineering team, we'll actually be spending a little more time in the next months really enriching our connection with our partner community, with particularly this U.S. Azure partner community. And so watch the Yammer group, and we have a real experienced individual that's coming on board to help us participate and ensure that we get the right kind of connection with you folks and we understand what the requirements are and we're kind of hitting the high points as we make progress. So thanks a lot and looking forward to that chance to work with you in time here. So the way I'm approaching this, I actually would like to talk a little bit more about like what is Azure Active Directory, why are we building it, what's the value proposition, and the core of that is to ensure that you can really kind of understand it yourselves and then be able to share that with your customers as well. So this deck that we've posted is quite long. I'm not going to go through all those slides. The reason I've given that is that it's basically an in-depth version of what I'll be talking about, right? So it really gives you a toolkit that you can take and evaluate and look at and understand more and kind of know how to frame your questions as well. So the core of why Microsoft has invested in Azure Active Directory is that basically the cloud and devices is just the two major drivers in our customers' situations today. The cloud is enabling basically a rapid uptake of new scenarios and new functionality, and device access is basically the end users are the customers' employees are using devices. These are not just devices like functional devices, they're literally ones that they love, right? So you have to make sure that experience is great for them. And with all that, our customers are really worried about what about auditing, what about security, compliance, and assurance. So in this world of cloud and devices, you really end up with this outcome, which I call the chaos slide, right? So this is the outcome that happens when end users within an organization are rapidly taking on new cloud apps, new software as a service or SaaS applications, and they're using company resources. They have company data. It's just going everywhere, right? So the customer might actually have a pretty good handle on their on-premises world, but literally the change in cloud and devices has created this huge challenge associated with security and auditing and protection of the company's core resources. So what can you do about that, and what are we doing about that? The first piece is that really rethinking where the control planes are. So think about identity as the control plane, right? And so I'll kind of walk you through this a little bit because it really sets the stage for some of the most important parts of what we'll be talking about during this presentation, and you'll be talking about with your customers as well. The first thing, on the left-hand side, our customers have incredible investments in existing applications, existing deployments of identity infrastructure such as Active Directory and others, and basically they're large data center collection of functionality. Now when you go to the new world and you start to move to the cloud, they suddenly have a large part of applications. And remember, when I'm talking about cloud applications, even though I'm a huge fan of Azure, our customers are using a large number. Really, it's the world of cloud applications, right? So it's O365, it's Salesforce, it's Concur, TripIt. It's the world of clouds, right? So because of that situation, now from Azure Active Directory, we bring in a core function, which we call Azure Active Directory, which is not, don't think of it as a separate directory. Think of it as an extension of your on-premises Active Directory that enables you to gain access and control access to a whole world of cloud applications, right? So, and that connection is very simple. We're continually updating our connection tools in such a way that the customers and you working with that customer should find it quite simple to ensure that just the right identities and just the right attributes are in the cloud to gain access to those applications. And then when you've done that connection, that then gives you the single sign-on with federation and basically the ease of use and the controls associated with that for your customers. Now, this simple picture that I'm drawing here is actually a fundamental architectural change that's happening in our enterprise users now. Traditionally, when customers were attempting to access and control access to external applications, they would create a separate federation or a separate synchronization with every single SaaS application, Salesforce.com, for example. And what happened then is that then our customers are managing multiple federations and tracking them and getting woken up in the middle of the night to try to update the configuration when there's a change in Salesforce, for example. So in this world now, the customer only makes one connection. It can be very simple where a federation is not even required. They're basically just synchronizing the passwords and enabling the end users this simple experience. And all the federation and all the connection in the applications is basically managed by Microsoft in this case. So it really reduces the customer's cost and gives them a tremendous upgrade in terms of functionality. Then, but you know, what's cool about this whole thing, you're extending AD this way, and then you're getting the single sign-on, which is a massive customer benefit, and basically one that we see as a real driver for quick uptake of these services. But then because now you have this great control over these identities in the cloud, you can then start doing things like password management, resetting and changing of passwords, and group management, the resetting and controlling access to applications. And these are not only for the cloud applications that we've talked about, but actually, as you see, the arrows go both ways, and basically the functionality to be able to manage passwords not only in the cloud but on-prem as well. So that's the kind of, it's like a layered benefit, and we find customers might purchase and deploy something like this first for cloud application access. They might also deploy it first for password management. They might also deploy it first for enabling external access to internal applications. So there's a number of use cases that are enabled here that really the customers will take advantage of. But the final benefit, if you will, of this significant architectural change in this connection is that you basically now get a tremendous amount of auditing, security, monitoring, right? You'll really be able now to report that saying these 125 apps are connected to my directory and I know who's accessing them, right? This is something that is basically impossible today from within a strictly on-prem world. So you get tremendous benefits about this. So when we talk about Azure Active Directory, it's really more than Azure and it's more than Active Directory. When we think of Active Directory on premises, you're basically looking at something that's a directory, right? And it's managing group policy for Windows machines, for example, right? And then additional functionality you would either add with Microsoft capabilities and products or alternative products as well, whether you're doing security monitoring or identity access management functionality. When we look at this world here, we're really seeing Azure Active Directory as a solution, right? It really is the kind of bringing together the functionality, so it's not just a directory, but it's also identity management, application provisioning, app catalogs with tons of pre-integrated applications. And as I said, it's more than Azure because obviously it's a first-class citizen, enables you to do amazing things around corporate control of access to Azure resources, but also you control that whole world of thousands of applications and cloud apps beyond that. The other piece about this, with all this information here, you know, it's obviously has a great stronghold in what we call business to employee. Right. So this is all about how I, as a corporation, can gain control of and give the right kind of productivity-oriented functionality for my end users. But also now we've just been releasing the functionality to not only enable that control for your employees, but also to enable control for your business partners, vendors, and contractors. So it's a wonderful extension of making this bet, if you will, on Azure Active Directory. Gives you control not only on your employees, but also now on your vendors, which is actually a pretty costly and worrisome management issue for many of our customers, where their business partners need to gain too much access to be able to get their work done. This allows you to have significant control over that access in a very simple way. And then the third piece of it, like the third piece of the triangle, is B2C. We've been traveling the world as we build our plans and we execute on them and offer the service and get the service deployed worldwide. And one of the core requirements that we keep on hearing for our customers is, hey, I need to gain control and be compliant around my employees. I need to ensure that I'm giving secure access to just those partners that need it and only those applications that they should be able to gain access to. But I also have 10 million customers, and I'm really losing control of how I'm going to do that in a cost-effective way. So this Azure Active Directory is a core functionality and solution orientation that covers not only employees but also business and consumer. And there's really 5 different core scenarios that our customers are uptaking Azure Active Directory for. And what I'd like to do is I'll kind of walk through these, and then we'll kind of jump into a demonstration of the actual service, so that we can ground all the words I'm saying and what you actually are seeing and what the art of the possible is. So the first scenario that people are looking at is, hey, how can I simplify access control and control of both my cloud and on-premises applications, right? That's including Office 365, but also the thousands of other applications beyond that. The second one is, hey, I am worried about my password management because my help desk costs are going through the roof, right, in terms of the cost per password change or password reset. And at the same time, my help desk is a vector of attack for phishing attacks for people attempting to steal credentials from me as a customer. So you're reducing your IT burden and cost, but frankly, you're making a very important security investment in ensuring that you gain control of the password changes, working with specifically the person that has the right to know that password, the end user. One interesting data point, if you think about Azure Active Directory, is that this is the core directory that not only supports Azure Active Directory premium services, but it is the directory for Office 365 as well. So from that, we're gaining about up to 2 billion authentications a day. And based on that, we have really a ton of security-based telemetry on issues and anomalies associated with access that now we can make available to our customers, or to you as a partner offering these services to our customers, to really identify that there are fraudulent attempts to fraudulently access the services with data here that it was not possible to gain prior to that, including, and then also you can take steps like really simply adding multi-factor auth, with the devices that the end users know and love, right? As I said, great reporting support. Obviously, would lead in many cases with the security reports because that's such an important issue in terms of gaining control over the, basically the fraudulent attacks on the company. But what we found is that customers highly value the operational reports, like what applications are my end users using, when are they using them, are they using them enough, do I have 5 subscriptions for one SaaS app? There's so much business related things that are just really, you're able to begin to answer these questions very simply. And then finally, majority of our customers have or are developing either themselves or through partners applications and mobile apps that they want to make available to their employees or to their business partners, and very simple tools and a full development SDK to enable any development to be able to simply link into this and gain benefits of this whole scenario. So what I'd like to do is take a moment here and really ground what we've just put in these scenarios in the actual service itself. And before I do that, Nick, have there been any questions?
Yeah, there are a few questions.
Okay.
One is, it looks like the federation and the management of the multiple SaaS apps sort of competes with other companies like Okta, which is true. And so how do you sort of differentiate what Azure Active Directory does versus what some of the competitors do?
Well, fundamentally, the benefit and the differentiation is the breadth, right? So not only do you get the SaaS application connection, the federation as well, you get the integrated multi-factor, you get the self-service, you have the deep auditing and security reporting, you have the total value of the EMS suite, which includes the device management and mobile access management, as well as RMS, which has the information protection. We're actually literally protecting each bit of information as well. So it really is a differentiation of large customers extending AD. Azure AD is just the best way to do that because we functionally can drive great scenarios associated with that in a comprehensive way for our largest customers. And not to mention things like global footprint for our data centers and availability and reliability, and Microsoft's incredible sales and support system that supports all that.
Perfect. The next question we'll take here is there a way to have authentication events delivered real time, or are they only done on a report, run the report type of basis?
I'm thinking you're saying, hey, I've got a report and I'm seeing it there, but I want to know more about real time, right? So I can take actions associated with that. Look for announcements in that over the next period.
Okay, very good. And then one more question here for now. The current Azure AD allows identities to be browsed by other users. Obviously, the B2C won't do that. And is there any type of integration that will enable that we could turn on sort of that connection between the B2E, the B2C, and the B2B, or are those totally sort of separate services?
So the way I would answer that is B2E and B2B are very deeply integrated, right? Because it's all about, like, say, I'm managing a number of vendors and I need to give them access, I need to see what they're accessing and that type of thing. So there's a very close connection with the employees of a company and the business partners that they're interacting with. In the case of B2C, B2C is more focused on a smaller number of employees of the company, which is usually the case, that are managing a large number of consumers and their access and applications associated with that. The B2E functionality, business to employee functionality, would enable the whole company to interact with applications or administration or back office services in terms of authentication and roles for that, for access, but not necessarily, and that would be the focus of that integration point.
All right, great, thank you. That's it for now. We'll probably have some more at the end, and if you want to go ahead with the demo.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Great questions, and I'm looking forward to these and more. So I'm going to go ahead and present my desktop. So Nick, I'll ask you if you're able to see the Office 365 screen here.
It is loading, and now it is up.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. So, it's interesting. We've just been talking about Azure Active Directory, and I'm suddenly showing you O365. But the reason I'm doing that is that I really wanted to kind of talk about the value proposition from our customers in terms of the integrated end user experience, right? So what you're looking at here is basically a welcome on board email from a manager to their employee. The employee has been basically created in Workday. That Workday creation drove an automated provisioning for the provisioning of that user into Azure Active Directory, and including through that, because of the automation associated with group management, the employee has a number of applications and those things that are available to them right on the first day. So the first day they come in, they take a look at their email, and they see that they need to just go to Workday from Office 365. So do you remember when I showed you that picture, which is like on-premises, Azure AD, and then the world of the clouds and the interaction between them? What you have here is basically all those applications, those single sign-on applications, integrated so that the end user is not going to multiple places in terms of access for that application. So they click on the tile, and they are given access to the Workday, and they can then add in their own data and update it as required. So one of our big customers in France did an interesting thing where they had a totally an on-prem environment, an on-premises environment where workers needed to come into work and that kind of thing, and they were feeling and being told by the employees that they were stodgy and old, right? So obviously one of the first steps they took was to uptake Office 365, and then the users could then gain access to their email at home and work from that. And it really obviously the company benefited because there was more workers at more time, but also the users benefited. They could run home and take care of their child, and plus catch that email as well. But the first thing after that they wanted was to have access to an on-premises application. So here's a model one that we have here. And so through Azure AD, you're able to give access to on-premises applications. So let me just, what I'm got here is a notification here. So it's 764523. 764523. So because this application was on-prem and the CSO said you want to make sure that all on-premises applications are controlled by multi-factor, it was very simple to add multi-factor to the service. And so the individual, because they were accessing their timesheet application, it was protected with their with a multi-factor auth using their phone, right? So this is just the type of kind of super easy to use functionality that, you know, it was like literally days. And the benefits that the IT organization achieved, one of the biggest ones was that the end users were saying like, hey, this is really cool. Like, we're actually in the digital age, right? So, but at the same time, they're doing the right protections for the company. The other piece here is that using group management, here the company has a number of social applications like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn that they use for marketing purposes and attracting new employees and that kind of thing. And they want to make sure that these things are protected, right, in such a way that if an employee were to leave the company, that they would not be able to then instantly jump onto Facebook or Twitter and say, hey, the company was bad or something like that, right? So in this case here, Keith, who has just joined this company, says, I plan to tweet, and puts a request in. So the request to join has been sent to the owner of the group for approval, right? So this is it's so simple now. This is a good example of additional owner approval for self-service group management. But in addition, behind the scenes, what we're doing is giving access to that end user without them actually knowing what the password is for those applications. For those key social apps, we basically provide not only admin-controlled password entry, but also automated rollover so that the passwords are updated every 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever is the decision. And through that, you really decrease your risk associated with activities that really can impact the company when when there is a kind of like a Twitter attack or something like that. Then within all that, let me go ahead here and let's take a look. Now I'm going to switch personas. So at that point there, I was an employee. I was getting onboarded. I was joining the groups that I needed to join. But now I am the manager for that group, right? And I'm going to go ahead and approve that, right? So let's go ahead. So that has been approved, and let's spend a couple minutes now looking at Azure Active Directory, right? So the core piece here is what you're looking at is Azure Active Directory. It is a node or an area within the Azure Management Portal, right? And so within this situation, you have your users. You have your users that are not only those that are synchronized from on-premises with that simple connection, but also are cloud created and cloud managed. And this is an important functionality, right? Because what this really allows you to do is something you're never able to do, is separate workers. So some of our customers, largest retailers, have a number of corporate workers and then a number of floor workers. And being able to do managing the corporate workers on-prem and the floor workers on the cloud for access to the SaaS apps that they need really has really significantly reduced the footprint and the risk associated with active access to corporate resources on the network. So that's just a good and interesting situation. In here in groups, right, this is all the groups that are both synchronized from on-premises or created and managed in the cloud. And I'm just going to show you this one group here. This one group here is what's called a dynamic membership group. And this is something that really is a benefit that you as partners could get to know more about, because what you can do here is really create a set of rules that are associated with accessing, say, an application or a group of applications, and you don't have to depend on making sure that the right people are in the right group. As long as they have the attribute like sales or marketing, they will then become members of that group and then gain access to anything that the that dynamic membership group has been given access to. In the application space here, we have, these are the applications that have been added to the Azure Active Directory. This is a good example of where a company now has a single view of all the applications that are gaining access to Azure AD, something that they were never able to do prior to this on-prem. And they can either add an application they're developing, they can add an on-premises app that they want to give access to external users, or they can directly add applications that are pre-integrated both by us or by the application developers themselves. And not only the 2,500 plus that we have available as pre-integration, but you can actually add any application like a SAML application or others through this custom application as well. So we find this many times when customers are global and they might have a number of applications in the US or Europe, but they also have some in the Far East or that kind of thing. So you really want to make sure you can get a consistent end user experience, those tiles showing up either in Office 365 or in the end user experience on mobile or browser, and it's one set. So this is where the applications come from. And then a number of other areas that you could work on. I'd like to spend a little more time, just a couple of minutes here, on the some security reporting, because I think that's really, it closes the loop, right, where you really have not only the super good access story around easy to use access, easy to control, but in these cases here, now you can begin to get feedback, and in the future get real time will be things like accessing from unknown sources. Like say when end users are accessing from an anonymizer, that's not usually a good thing, right? Sign-ins after there's been a brute force attack and there's been a success after it. Sign-ins when people are coming from multiple geographies within too short a time from actual travel. Sign-in addresses with suspicious activity. This is where the billions of authentications come in. And this is where we're looking across all sign-ins on a global basis, and we can identify IP addresses that are attempting to sign in, say, for example, to multiple companies, right, in such a way, in a suspicious manner, plus a number of other, and over time, a number of other sensors, and using machine learning in this case to really make sure we're getting the best feedback on that. So what's interesting about this is fraudulent IPs, potentially fraudulent IPs that you gain well before that's a known bad IP that will show up in a common downloadable list. Sign-ins from possibly infected devices. This is really about the where we have Digital Crimes Unit in Microsoft. We have a global network identifying botnets and the devices that are accessing them. And if those devices are attempting to access your resources, you will know that now. And as well as other machine learning events and others as we go forward. So what I'd like to do is, that sort of gives you a feel like, this is my end user experience, this is my administration experience. And so now I'm actually going to stop presenting my desktop and move back and kind of bring this full circle with the some final notes here. Taking over as presenter. So the first thing that we found out when we've been talking to customers, and literally hundreds and hundreds of customers in the last couple of years, as we were developing the SaaS application work, CIOs, CISOs were telling us, hey, like, I don't even know what the state of my situation is. I don't even know what's going on. How can I even begin, right? So this is why that really led to the development of Cloud App Discovery. And this reason I want to really focus on this here with you folks is that what this does is it really enables you to even do like a architectural design session or something like that, working with your customers to help them understand the current state of the cloud applications that are being used in the organization. So it could be something that might be a security issue, that you might find that actually applications are being used that you're very much worried about. We've also found there's a big business issue that they find like, hey, we have 17 different applications to one SaaS app, and we could get a big price benefit if we could get that into one, right? And these are the things that you're basically blind to prior to that. So this is really kind of functionality that we've created directly related to our customer requests. And this is something I would really recommend you folks take a good look at. The second one that is that's really kind of one of these benefits that come from that connection that I showed you, which is basically from on-prem to Azure AD. Now with that connection and using Azure AD Connect Health, that connection health, you're able to get a tremendous amount of data about how, say, if you're using a Federation, a server or web application proxy, you can actually get a tremendous amount of data that was not possible to gain before. And so therefore, you as a customer are able to, like, really ahead of the curve, know what's going on, know what my users' experiences are, because from Azure AD Connect, we're looking at the cloud, we're pinging, we're monitoring, and giving you real-time reporting associated with that, and in certain cases, mitigation of certain situations. So it really is quite the benefit in terms of that kind of what you get from that world. The end user experience is really important. I showed you a bit about how that integrated Office experience, right? It really is. That's been a big driver for those of our customers who have uptake Office. They can just really rapidly gain this kind of one pane of glass view from an end user perspective for the applications that they need access to. In addition to that, we have mobile apps for iPhone, mobile apps for Android and iPad, and this really enables the end users to have a super simple access to the functionality that you've made available to them. Now I'd like one other piece as well, the core one of the core drivers of uptake, as I spoke about, is basically the Azure AD proxy, which is enabling you to do specific applications on premises that have not been changed in any way and enable access to a specific set of users from the internet. And what this gives you is a fundamental change, whereas prior to this, to give access to a corporate application that was on premises, you were required to give access to your network, right? And so what this does is make it very simple to give access only to the app and not to the network to gain access to that app. And that significantly reduces, again, the risk associated with having way too many people having way too much access to the network. Let me just go here to the next thing I'd like to talk about is the B2B. So this is something that we just announced yesterday morning, and there's blogs about this and everything like that. And really, this is an area that has been in development for a while for us. And as customers are looking at some of their biggest pain points from terms of cost and management, is how they're managing their partners and their vendors' access to resources. What's really important here and very differentiated, right, is that this is basically enables a very simple model that for those partners who have Azure AD, right, in those cases there, we enable them to log in and be managed, that their password and their interaction with their own company is all managed there. And basically it's a federated access, and we manage the federation to that partner company resource. So this really, rather than having to keep track of your partners, are they still in that company and those kind of things, you're basically able to take advantage of that core functionality, but where we've simplified the federation and are managing it for you. In those cases where the end user does not have a Azure AD as a partner, we enable that scenario as well, and help them manage their password in that case, right? So it really seamlessly provides Azure AD and availability of cloud applications for the business partners. And the second thing we've just announced is our Azure Active Directory B2C. And you know, the C can mean consumers, the C can mean customers, the C can mean constituents, right? And because this is basically something that really can be used whether it's like a government or non-governmental enterprises. It's just really have a broad applicability. And it's built in such a way that, first of all, it's global service, right? So it's global service from day one. It's targeted at hundreds of millions of consumers. We have a very large sports organization has already rolled this out and is really extremely happy with the results of that. And it really is reflective of our engineering process, where we work very closely with our partners and our customers while we're doing the engineering. So when we do that Yammer group discussion that I talked about, we're going to be looking for partners such as some among you that have customers who are Azure AD customers or would like to be, or B2C customers or would like to be, and we'll make sure that those early deployments just go really well, because that helps us gain the right kind of data to be super crisp on our work, right? And so, of course, from a B2C, it will enable the end users to use their social identities. It's an integrated, really super friendly kind of self-service user sign-in, and you get that Microsoft behind you with the information security and breach protection associated with this. So at this point now, what I'd like to do is hand this back to Nick, or answer a couple questions for the final minutes or so here.
Sure. A couple of quick questions that came in. One is, if you have a customer, say, using a third-party SaaS app, Salesforce would be a good example, and they add that application to Azure AD, how does Salesforce recognize that it's being added to the customer's Azure Active Directory? Is there a code the customer has to put in place, or is there some sort of connection we already have with them?
No. What happens is that the customer would have an administration account with Salesforce, for example, and with that administration account, they would basically configure, and this is all either prepackaged within our pre-integration, but there are a couple steps that you need to go into the Salesforce UI and set. And what you do is basically set authentication, say, for example, SAML, and you set authentication for SAML only, and then at that point then, access to Salesforce is controlled by Azure AD with that step, and using basic APIs and functionality that Salesforce exposes. The end user can go either directly to Salesforce, they'll get redirected to Azure AD for the sign-in, or they can directly go to Salesforce from the Access panel as well. So there's no special requirement other than the normal interaction you might do in terms of setting this up, and we've made this literally 5 clicks to the web type of approach.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that's all the questions we're going to have time for today. There's a few more that we're going to go back and answer on Yammer later, so thanks for everybody for submitting those. As we wrap up, I'm going to just make a couple of quick announcements, so don't hang up just quite yet. Just a reminder that we are going to be having a call again next month, and for that one we've already got a speaker lined up, and we're going to talk specifically about Azure and ExpressRoute. If you pay attention over the next couple of weeks, including at the AzureCon event I mentioned, there's going to be some very interesting things talked about around ExpressRoute. And so I would encourage you not to miss that, because we're going to have one of the leading field experts on ExpressRoute come and spend some time with us. So bring your networking questions to that. We're also going to have a survey posted at the end of the call here. Folks, we want to hear back from you. We want to hear your feedback, especially in the comments, around what topics do you want to see on future calls. This is your community. This is here for your benefit. So please go in those, just submit a comment, say, hey, I'd like to learn more about. You put it in there, and we'll integrate that into our planning cycles here for the next several months. So please do that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kim to post the survey and close us out.
Great, thank you, Nick. Ladies and gentlemen, your feedback is important. We hope that you found today's information helpful. Please take a few minutes to let us know by completing a short survey. We do appreciate it. And click on the messages button to find the link to the survey. And I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters, Nick, Stephanie, and Keith. This concludes today's web conference.